What's up, everybody? I'm back. Now, I wanted to say, Alpha Shocker, I saw your comment, and that does happen. Comments do get deleted. I've had people who've emailed me or wrote another comment, and then that comment got deleted, or for some reason, I don't know why. I think I mentioned this before. Well, I'm pretty sure I mentioned this before. The comments are there's a setting that you can put them on. It like hold comments that are, I guess, the algorithm or what program or whatever deems as could be potentially inappropriate. It'll hold them. And I used to go and look at them, and sometimes it'd be like 12 in there. It'd be just random numbers. People, especially if you spam stuff, it would block it. Well, not block it, but it would hold it for me to look at and then say, okay, it's okay. Now I will say I haven't looked at that thing in a while, but I got your message before about reacting to what's the name of this? Because I'm about to do it now. This is Genesis Rising: The Universal Crusade review. This is from Mandalore Gaming. Man, okay. It looks like the audio might be off. I don't know. I hope not. Anyway, I just try to correct it, I guess, if I can. But it's been a combination of work. Also, about a little over a week ago, I hurt my back, thinking that I'm still 25, trying to move something, and hurt my back. So I wasn't able to sit or stand for long periods of time, and I was laying down. Unfortunately, it wasn't at work, so I couldn't get workman's comp. Hurt my back at home trying to move something. But I'm feeling better now. I'm able to sit, and it only hurts a little bit when I sit for a long period of time. Actually, I need to kind of alternate sitting and standing because it actually hurts now more when I lay down than when I sit or stand. Well, not when I stand, when I sit. But yeah, it was my lower back, like right at the tailbone. Like I was just moving something, and I was, I could pull it, and I did like this, and stop using my legs. One thinking, and end up like, ooh, I felt it right there. Oh, I shouldn't reenact that, but I like did like that, and basically with my butt and my back did like this kind of thing. Please don't tell me I fucked that up. Damn it. I hope I ain't mess up the audio. It's still moving. Okay, it's fine. Didn't hear a pop, a crunch, nothing like that. Did go get X-rays. It was like looked like I had a. Well, first I talked to a doctor. It said sound like I had like a probably a muscle strain. Then I got X-rays and they like, yeah, it's just a muscle strain. For what it looks like, at least what they saw. I've had X-rays before where people say they don't see nothing, and then I go get X-rays from somebody else, and they're like, I see something. So, but yeah, that's what happened. So, yeah, now I'm feeling a bit. I'm feeling a bit better. Well, I was feeling a bit better yesterday, but then I started trying to still move shit, but not bending my back. But then my back got sore a lot faster than it normally does because of the injury, obviously. But yeah, I was going to just comment that, but I figured it'd be easier to just say it at the beginning of the video if you watch this part. So I don't know if you skip to the reaction, but damn it, I hate that. I got this green screen if you haven't noticed, and I got it. I got a big one because I was like it was on sale, but the space in my room is not adequate for it. So it's kind of hard to angle it properly, and I can't angle my camera properly, I would have it like directly in front of me. That'd be a lot easier. But it would be blocking the TV. Not much though. I could, and I got this stand now. So, well, like kind of like a tripod thing for the cake. I bought another camera, and it does look better than my old camera, but the old camera still works. But I wanted a newer, a better camera. So, but anyway, anywho, let's just get into this. But yeah, that's the reason why. So, I mean, you can send an email if you want. It's fine. I did put my email out there on what is I think is about or whatever when you looking at the channel, the different like videos and whatever. And I think at the end, I think it says about. I think that's where it said. It's on there. So if you want to email, you can. Because I think I've gotten. Because I think I've gotten all your messages, so or your comments on my videos. So, but either or, it is fine. But yeah, that's the reason. It wasn't that I didn't get the messages, the last message you sent, but I didn't see it right away, obviously, because I saw it on my phone because I have YouTube Studio on my phone, but I didn't comment. But because I didn't react to it right away because work and then the injury. But anywho, let's get into this. All right, here we go.
Incorrect. Mulatio was first.
Okay, this
Mulatio was meant to be alone.
this started out crazy already. What the fuck is wrong with his voice? Mulatio was first, and Mulatio was meant to be alone among all things. But Mulatio was betrayed. Who did this voice? Like, was it Christian Bale? Like, I don't know how old this game. It just his voice just like I'm guessing he's evil. Like
Among all things. But Mulatio was betrayed.
Betrayed? Betrayed by whom?
he like shit.
What?
But yeah, I was just about to say that. What?
Since the Callisto Protocol brought it up while playing, I thought of a future where humanity becomes genetic
God.
freaks, and it reminded me of a game very on track with that, Genesis Rising. And after a brief search, not only does it have no videos on YouTube
looks
covering
like
it, but the IMDb page is also a complete shell.
Disgusting.
It did
penis or
eventually come out
something.
on Steam, but was so broken that it didn't even launch for most people. For those who could run it, they'd be treated to everything
This
being invisible
sounds
or
familiar.
constant crashing. This was due to several folder directories
This name sounds familiar now to me. Like this looks familiar. I mean, I didn't have Steam back in 07. Oh wow, that's funny. It just oh no, it didn't. Okay, I thought this released on the day of an ex of mine, but it says March 20th. Her birthday was May 20th. Good. I was about to say what? But this looks familiar. I didn't have Steam back then. Hell, I don't even think I had a Facebook account back then. I was one of those people who like refused to get on social media at first. And my friends like, I'll make an account for you, and would just making the account while asking me the question. I don't know why, because I had MySpace. So
just being missing. They did make it playable eventually, but on my end, all the ships were 100% black. It looks to be some kind of shader issue since setting that to medium fixed the ships right up. It still crashed a lot, and we'll go over all the joys of that later. But the point is, even when you could get the game
oh,
out
I
of the box,
thought my
it
thing
was
crashed for a
scuffed.
second.
Now, there are tons of RTS games out there that have a similar story, but Genesis Rising is such a bizarre blend of madness that it's worth talking about. To sum the game up in a sentence, your spaceships are alive and filled with blood.
Okay, so they look like they're like living
But that's only the
tissue
epidermis
or
of the
something.
setting. From the credits, I learned that the game is based off an obscure single-issue Serbian comic called Cruciform. It takes place in the far future where humanity are the galactic villains. It's only a single issue with some interesting art, but the game itself gives all the context you need.
The fuck?
After nearly being wiped out by several alien threats, humanity bounced back and are now the rulers of the universe. Not
course
the
they are.
galaxy, the universe. All other aliens are
The
either
whole
wiped out,
thing.
enslaved, or thralls of humanity. Those survivors must also worship the human god. We're a brutal regime in the future,
Damn.
led by the Chair of Three, which represents the most important human factions: the military, the judicature, and the state church. What's interesting is that the human god was once a man, who united everyone against the alien threat. He was part man and part god, and it's unclear where he came from or how exactly he did what he did. He's known as the Emperor, Savior of Mankind. Now, you may have heard a
Mouse
similar
like
story
stupid.
before, but this one is delivered like an Invader Zim bit.
The aliens, realizing the power of this demagogue and fearing for their very existence, captured, tortured, and killed him.
I'm sorry. That
It
looks.
looks more like he got jumped after class.
Yeah, that looks.
As a martyr, his message
Bad.
is even more powerful.
Oh, and he's in
His
crucified.
death only served to strengthen humanity's resolve.
A new church also arose to guide humanity.
Then there was a new church. Again, not much elaborated on. It feels like it
Why is
doesn't matter
everyone
much because the
bald?
intro rocks. The voice acting throws more ham at you than
Is it 'cause it's
exploding
hard to do
butcher
hair
shot,
back
and it's
then?
being done over what sounds like the Villeneuve Dune theme.
Humankind's foray into space began uneventfully. For 1,000 years, our influence spread across the length and breadth of known space.
So what looked like the Strogg almost wiped us out until the Savior saved us. But humanity's biggest achievement was the Organids, living spaceships that would grow, mutate, and then adapt to their environment. No other aliens had mastered these, so within a few thousand years, we just conquered most of existence. How could you stop it? I mean, these are some virile-looking ships. It sets the stage for a bizarre and dark setting, and that's when the first whiplash hits.
Father, don't be silly. The people celebrate the birth of the universal heart. I
What
just
the
happen to be born the same
cockeyed
day.
ass boy?
Yes, I suppose you are right.
You see how cockeyed? Hold on.
Whiplash hits.
Father, don't be silly. The people celebrate the birth of...
Look at this boy's eye. They look cockeyed as fuck. Father, don't be silly. Like, I don't know if that's an actual kid reading that or a female. Because they have a lot of females do male voices, with male children's voices. And a lot of things. That sounds like someone just reading
the
something.
universal heart. I just happen to be born the same day.
Yes, I suppose you are right. But it is fun to pretend.
You play as a 5-year-old child whose haircutter
Oh,
hates him.
you
I'm just happy to be
fucking
here with you,
this
Father.
kid,
I enjoy being one.
father.
The story will skip ahead a few decades, just so that the kid, Icona, can get his own space.
Only like villains, like or kids that are gonna grow up to be villains, call their father. Like I've never, in all the people, all my friends, my male friends that I've met their father, never said father. Like, oh father. Like what? That just seems weird.
Ship. After all, it'll grow up with him.
Father, I don't know what to say.
Father, I don't know what to
Isn't it illegal
say.
to own a ship at my age?
It's such a light-hearted opening, which feels
Why do you care?
unbelievably strange. Come on, son, let's go harvest the life essence of the fallen.
Target spotted.
See, he's a villain. I mean, what they said, humans are the
When
base
you're
of
pitching this setting,
villains
does
in this.
anyone want to see this? I'll try shunting, that's a good trick. Icona and his Omni Cruiser grow up off-screen, so we don't get the more sentimental bits of H.R. Giger's Aragon. Icona is a commander now, and his hair has died out of embarrassment. He's morphed into being The Rock. And the Chair of 3 wants him to hunt down Universal Heart, which his father went missing looking for.
Hair was hard
The
to do
heart
back
is,
then.
supposedly, where all life comes from. And
Apparently.
there's only a single galaxy left that people haven't checked.
Captain, we've reached the last unexplored galaxy in the universe.
On its own, that's an insane thing to hear. But this galaxy has aliens that possess organids. And that's the gist of the campaign. Wipe out your enemies, and find the heart. For now, let's talk about the graphics. To be fair, the shaders aren't at the full potential they could be since it's outright broken. Though even with that, for a 2007 strategy game, it looks pretty good. A lot of it comes from how smartly they use lights and color. Like, if you zoom in all the way on a spaceship, the texture won't be that sharp, but how parts glow and how color is arranged across it is really interesting. When you're not zoomed into it and playing the game normally, the ships do have a living quality to them. You see how different flesh and metal parts reflect in the sun, lights flicker on
Yeah,
and
it
off.
don't look
The general
bad.
design can resemble ancient sea life or twisted forms of the human body. The ship's
Why
being
is that in
organic isn't
space?
some kind of lore afterthought. It is front and center and gross. A space station isn't just a safe harbor, it's a pulsating flesh reservoir. You don't have to harvest the field, you harvest the station. Your collectors are basically horrible, gigantic mosquitoes, and you can physically see them getting engorged with blood when they collect it. While they're the best at powering your economy, since blood is also currency in this setting, most of your ships are able to drain blood, including in the middle of battle. By harvesting enemy corpse
So
ships,
human
your
beings
own
are just
vessels can
parasites
slowly heal
now.
themselves. So when your own ships are getting wounded, they can plug an IV into their enemy and start vampiring their health away, along with collecting any mutations they find to add into your own gene bank. There is some thinking to this, since some more destructive weapons have a higher chance of outright obliterating enemy ships, but playing it riskier means having a higher chance of getting a ship carcass, which is more literal blood, sweat, and tears for your war machine. Most weapons are genes that you use to mutate your craft. These are mutations that you physically see on the models too. You can watch new weapons grow out or parts of the ship extend,
they
or
grew a
strange
dick.
appendages coming out of it.
Why
You
does
know,
everything
some
look
other
like
ship in the homeworld
phallus?
basically gave birth to new craft. That is actually what's happening here. Blowing up a station is killing a gigantic being, ripping the shell away and sending your roaches in to clean up the remains. It's like watching a fight in Star Wars and a whale fall at the same time. They even grounded a bit by having you encounter forces that use traditional spaceships. And when they go up against your primordial sea monsters, you're clearly the villain there. Visually, just playing the game is so excellent at making humanity an eldritch nightmare. You either die, or fall in line with the universal rulers. Though there are alien forces that are terrors in their own right, with their own cool, unique designs. Still, I think bioships are very underused in sci-fi, and Genesis Rising has some amazing designs, and others are deli-wrapped Cylon Raiders. This also makes the rest of the tone way more psychotic.
Captain Icona, I think you should avoid talking to the Vicar until...
Until what?
Until you're
Is
a
he
little more
drunk?
sober, sir.
Enough, soldier. Connect me to Juno.
Look, great value Captain Diomedes getting obliterated is already
Okay.
odd, but they went the extra mile to show he's drinking out of some kind of living conch shell. That is a creature that lives solely to sweat Everclear. This is the future Serbia wants.
Wow.
Probably saves money. This extends to the holograms, which are actually shape formers. So instead of calling
That's
someone,
kinda
you
fucked
temporarily
up.
generate a homunculus clone of them. Or something. And don't you worry, this gets one hell of a payoff later. Getting back to it, the environment looks good too, with lots of bold, striking colors. I would have liked some pitch black space to balance things out, but I guess that's how it goes in the last unexplored galaxy. When the background is more dim, I really appreciate the weapon and ship lights and how they contrast against the background. Even the box art leaned into that, which is how I noticed it at Best Buy back in the day. It promised a creepy bloodship future, and on that, it delivered in spades. The idea of Genesis Rising and how creative it is visually is without a doubt the strongest part of the game. The most barren are the endgame shapeformer cutscenes, but in comparison to their sound design, these look like masterpieces. I'll show you why.
This mission, the search for the heart, it is a terrible mistake.
It is no mistake, Bishop.
I see.
There are no ambient effects. no
Okay,
music,
I guess that's the
it's
end of
just
that.
you and the voices. Right now, it's
I
just me and the
see.
voices. Alone.
You said
Diplomacy
all
has
that.
never felt more confrontational and awkward.
It's not a mistake.
Why did you attack us?
Okay.
You will show respect. It is you who invaded our space.
It's not a bug, it's just the game.
Bitch,
The
I'm
ambient sound
human.
design is also more empty, but not going for realism.
I'm in
They
charge.
just don't have that many effects. If it's not music, you hear weapon fire.
Well, it should be mute because you don't hear nothing in space.
It's generic and definitely undercooked for this time period. There were strategy games 10 years before this with way better soundscapes and much smaller budgets. It can also drive me nuts and some fights sound like a child fiddling with a lightsaber. Not to mention, for how over-the-top the setting is, the actual in-game voice acting can be weirdly casual. Especially after the intro, they rarely gel with the world they're inhabiting. I thought they set a clear tone.
Time to die.
Damn, they get like right in each other's
I don't know.
face. Suck
I
'em
feel a
dry.
disconnect. There are some characters
What?
that are better, but it's still very budget.
I was like, wait, what did he say?
That's more like it. The soundtrack is the biggest audio standard.
Why is that
A
in
decent
space?
amount of it is your standard RTS battle orchestra kind of sound, but like the wailing in the intro, sometimes it taps into something way more unique. As an example, here's the more traditional space game music.
Sounds okay.
Still great production value, especially considering the rest of the soundscape. Then you have a track like Cruciform that steps it up.
I gotta agree. Sound like some avatars music.
There's a little more emotion showing with those. The issue comes from how often you hear the generic battle theme over and over again. The composer has so much range that's just underused. There's one part where you're investigating a new alien race based around crystals and ice, and the soundtrack is just people and children whispering. It's like they're trying to make a tulpa or something. So the game can have its moments of standout music, but it's mostly... It is a letdown how they use what they had a lot of the time, but there are some gems in there. I've seen some around in a fairly popular Homeworld 2 mod, but never in a Warhammer lore video or something like that. Maybe that'll change now. Okay, let's talk about the game itself.
It won't.
It's Homeworld on bath salts. I guess that's not too fair since mechanically they are very different, but there's a lot of influence here. Beyond similarities in the visuals and structure and even some missions near one-to-one, you also command a persistent fleet throughout the campaign. This wasn't uncommon at the time since almost every space RTS game definitely had some Homeworld influence. The difference is the story and writing in Homeworld makes something like a persistent fleet feel like it matters, whereas here in other games you go, oh, that's convenient. Besides, Genesis Rising takes place in a 2D plane since very few games still want to tackle the 3D space element. There's no kind of veterancy, but the persistent fleet is neat for capturing enemy ships. So if you grab a lab ship, you can build everything that your adversary has. This still sounds better than it is because there are barely any ships per faction. Besides your Omnicruiser, you can only build 3 kinds of combat ships, and not that many. Most ships don't innately have abilities either, they're just platforms for more mutations. So bigger ships have more health, and more options determined by you. With a persistent fleet, you might think how genes and mutations work in the campaign could be harsh, but it's not at all. When you find a new gene by shunting it out of a corpse or trading for it, that gene becomes permanently unlocked in your bank.
Game look like it
It's more
could
like
be
you're unlocking
fun
a
though.
template for it instead of a singular item. But you can also find and trade for special items which are exactly that. Single-use
Well, it
modifications
looks
that
like
you
I
use if the
said,
ship is destroyed,
like it could be
something
fun.
like a stun ability or nuclear missiles. As the campaign goes on, you can eventually find genes for the special items as well, so they're more just a temporary help. You'll also be finding upgraded genes which cost more blood to equip on your ship, but are better at what they do. Simple enough so far, but what stops you from making a min-maxing dick ship? For one, mutating a ship actually increases its max health, but it's not filled in immediately. After upgrading, the ship will need to fill up or be healed another way. This makes shifting in battle a bad idea. On top of that, any active abilities like a purge or a shield or some kind of special missile will generate heat. When it overheats, it can't use abilities again until it cools down. Which means you can put a death missile on something like a station, but it'll take forever to recharge. Now on paper, and at a few points in the game, the system is really engaging. You do some easy-baked gene splicing before a fight, determine what abilities work best on what ships, and with so few ships but all these mutations, it looks like there should be a lot of tactical depth to the game. Except there really isn't, and beyond that, the interface makes everything a pain in the ass to play. On the balance side, when you discover the freeze gene, which immobilizes your enemy for ages, including stations, most other active abilities go in the trash. While they look neat visually, besides the soft or hard damage aspect, I didn't feel much of a difference between most of the weapons. Short range especially can feel completely
that can suck.
interchangeable. The late game does try to open up more tactical and utility items, especially in one mission that makes the most out of the system, having you resurrect enemy ships and moving abilities around. But at that point your fleet is enough of a murder machine that it doesn't matter that much. Hearing that, you might think the game is overly easy, but no, this can be a tough
Remember
one for
going
all the wrong
around
reasons.
sucking
You can't say
blood
you
out
can
of
do
ships.
loadout or build to quickly drag onto a ship, so every time you build a new one, you have to go into the menu and manually mutate it by click dragging. Different genes also don't have different hotkeys, it's just the same use active ability hotkey. To manually use one means clicking on the icon above the craft or on the side panel. And you never get used to where things are because where the ships and mutations are at are moving around all the time. It's also hard to tell from the footage, but the mouse has a ton of weird drag to it. The interface is clearly meant for a 4:3 ratio since it's stretched out, but the game itself does support widescreen. All the cutscenes are in widescreen. I'm not sure what's going on there, but the mouse lacks precision and feels clunky to use. There's other strangeness, like hold space to toggle mutations showing up in the side panels, but then they'll disappear. It turns out the ships are camera shy, and if they're on screen, their ability will disappear from the panel, so you can click on the ship itself, if it's actually in your field of view. There was a toggle to make them show up permanently, but that would either crash the game or make it more prone to crashing. I have no clue why that's not on by default. The interface being so clunky,
Don't use this mechanic in the game because it'll crash the fucking
One of the missile genes has slight lock-on, extreme range, and gets more powerful the longer it's in the air. When you launch them at enemies, they rarely hit, but when they launch them at you just die.
Ship destroyed.
I cannot count how many times I got end-zoned by missiles. You're notified for long-range weapons that don't matter constantly. Like, look out, a breeder's on the way. That's nothing. So you might miss someone somewhere has launched a missile, and then a ship gets insta-killed at full health.
Incoming
These aren't
breeder.
super weapons either, it's just a long-range
That's what they say when I enter the building.
on any ship. The notification could mean a light tickle or you are now instant bone jelly. You might get the notification during a fight thinking it's a short-range missile from there, but really it's from across the map and you won't be seeing it for a minute or so. This is also a good time to remind you there's no in-mission saving. You could be on a map for a half hour or more, let an important ship out of your sight for a little too long, and it gets zapped by a missile. I was living in terror of these fucking things, and even with my paranoia, I was still barely dodging all the time. Usually the missile would sail past.
I mean, you'd think you just call them a pirate or a mugger.
And that's fine until the game
pirate
crashes.
Muggers.
I only know
or do they
some
mug
things likely
pirates?
to cause a crash, and one is a large ship dying. There were simple missions I spent hours on purely from crashing or from getting fox-2'd by a space whale. It was getting to a point I don't often for videos where I considered scrapping it purely from how often the thing was crashing.
He was like,
I was starting to remember why I hadn't finished this game all those years ago. Should I push through for the story? It's not like a good story. And then I saw The Rock make first contact with an alien race.
His hair is fucked up. He do kind of look like The Rock.
Whoa!
What? Are those boobies?
Interesting proportions.
No, you can't do this to me. You do that and it's like, now I have to see what happens. I'm not sure how to sum up the story. A lot of it was surprise filler, and the other parts were written like something from the Pepsi-verse. It has some interesting ideas, but the kind of ideas you'd find scrawled in feces at a bus stop. I will be getting into spoilers since I really can't tell where a stopping point is in the story. There are also choices to make, and several different endings, depending on what you do in the final mission. When you receive your mission to hunt for the heart, you meet Vicar Juno, the representative of the bishop. He introduces your choice mechanic, blue balled or red balled. Obviously, the intention is that blue is the friendly,
yeah, I was like, one is
and red is
good and one's evil.
So I tried both on Infinity, the head of the
evil.
judges. Most responses boil down to yes or sarcastic yes, and many Western RPGs would perfect this formula in the following.
Well, at least in the future,
No
women are
what,
still
Infinity
wearing
is
very
interested
few
in you.
clothes.
We are very much alike, you and I. When you return, perhaps we could spend some
With their
quality
eyes.
time together.
Are you
Perhaps.
a bone?
But look what happens when I choose Paragon Rock here.
You deny that you are Defiance? State your designation.
I have enough trouble, I'll try to be nice to the Strogg, and we'll see.
No. Why would you think we are Defiance?
Red is worse than that?
Designation? Human. We're called humans.
No, they're just assigned to the wrong button sometimes. So the aliens with
Wow.
the organic ships are the Defiance. They're a
Well, that
confederation of
sucks.
races against the human empire, including some that humanity thought they wiped out ages ago. This is a great idea for when you're playing as the heel. You can learn about the races humans have stomped down, and then decide how to deal with them. You'll have some options of where you can travel to first, or even go off track or backtrack. Typically, this only means getting your standard skirmish map with maybe an opportunity for new genes, but I appreciate the attempt at putting the journey more in your hands, even if it's pretty barren. Anyhow, the Defiance are also nasty in their own way. They've been oppressing the local Strogg for years, who are all too happy to join you on your genocide. There may not be many Defiants, but they are a major threat. They've invented parasitic weaponry, which can consume a living ship from the inside out. And if they get around, humanity's greatest weapons will be useless. It establishes a mystery of how they were formed and discovered the secrets of organoids. Does it have something to do with the heart? Well, that whole thread dies quietly, because while searching for the heart, the Defiants suddenly erupt into civil war. During your journey, you've seen mysterious pillars that have traces of blood air, which is apparently a sign of the universal heart. These pillars are the Lapis altars. Half of the Defiants think that destroying
This
them
sounds
will
like a
anger the
world
Lapis
with
gods and
vampires. Something like
apocalypse.
blood
The
is
other half
just
believes that not destroying them will cause the
currency
apocalypse.
is just the most
Tough break.
important thing.
Fool! If these altars are not destroyed, the Lapis will come!
From what I've been told, they'll come if you do destroy the altars.
Preposterous! The locals think the Lapis are gods, but the truth is that they are a primitive species. Without these altars, they aren't even capable of space travel.
You learn more about the Lapis from the Cold Whites. They're a mysterious, all-female tit race that you saw in the big cutscene.
You could put an eye out with those things,
tits.
lady.
Wow.
They're called the Cold Whites.
Is this a
because they live in the
15-year-old
cold
or
space
an adult man?
And are white.
Oh, I
They
can't
do point
say
in the
that.
direction of the Lapis themselves, who are rock people. They build their ships from asteroids and are essentially thinking rocks. They don't communicate with outsiders, only attack them, which is why some aliens theorize that they're not sentient at all, and that just comes from the pillars. They do follow blood air, which again means heart. At this point, Infinity and Vicar Juno arrive, and the Rock explains what's happening. He still wants to go track down the heart, but the Chair of Three demands the Defiants die, and they're defeated the next mission. This leads to a 2-year time skip, which is where you spend your time getting piss drunk with the piss juice. Mankind rules the sector, and instead of hunting down the heart, you do errands like taking the aliens to mass. You get missions, shaking extraterrestrials in their bed going, "Wake up! It's time for church." You especially need some Hail Marys. You might need some too if you enter the
Jeez.
romance with Infinity. This is a fairy tale romance.
Oh boy. Of course.
Now, tell her what every woman wants to hear in this moment.
Don't worry, Infinity. I won't tell anyone.
Captain,
What?
is there something wrong with the shape formula?
No, I don't think so. I was just making contact with this woman.
I see. I was just curious as to why we haven't left yet.
He was like, whoa, the fuck?
Legal issues. I have to take care of some details before we can leave. Red tape, you know?
I wish they'd just let us do our job.
It's like they can't decide between Warhammer 40k or Farscape. They can't decide Is he going for the fish? It's so messy, and only the more fanatical characters actually feel authentic for the setting it's showing. They package the game with epic choirs and monstrous spaceships. Then characters get to talking, and it's half B-movie and half YouTube poop. Except not nearly that fun, and how some things are resolved is so unsatisfying. To wrap up the mess arc, the Lapis attack by throwing rocks, as they were lured there by the traitorous Cold Whites, which means killing the Cold White leader, and killing the Defiants again. Juno is so pleased by this that he sends you out to look for the heart again. The enigmatic cerebral race might know more.
Look! It's another Juno creature!
I know they seem trustworthy, but they give you the runaround until you just murder them for the information, which is to put the pillars in the right order. But your father appears to tell you that
could've
he found
just
the heart
threatened
and
him.
imprisoned him, and it'll surely imprison you too. But the magic rocks
Yes, you gotta
already
know
open
you're
the portal,
serious.
which will surely lead to the heart. Right?
Father?
No. Did he go back in
am
time
I
or something?
dead?
No, son. I brought you here to make certain that you don't die.
You mean I'm in the past?
Yes.
But why?
It is easy for them to kill you now, in the past.
Who's them?
You will see.
Why
I
does he
haven't seen
sound
all the
like his
details, but I
adult
promise
voice
you,
now?
We did not need time travel. You play back in the baby Omnicruiser with your dad in the past fighting ships from the future. You win, travel back to the future, reunite with your fleet, and then defeat the giant 3 Portal Guardian heads, which puts you back to where things were, except you then get the only diplomacy scene with music.
Is this the future?
Actually, no. It is the past. The far distant past.
I don't understand. If we're in the past, why are you...
I have spent over 50 years in a past so distant that humans don't yet exist. Or at least they didn't. Until I came here and established a new human empire of my own.
So Juno went back in time to create an even more overpowered human empire, which is the Inquisition, and he can do this because the heart controls time, and he wanted Icona dead.
Wouldn't that just make an
he
alternate
thought it was a
timeline?
liability for no reason?
I forgive you. All of that is in the past. Or the future, actually.
All that is in
time
the
travel.
past.
It can be a bit confusing.
I wasn't oversimplifying there. The plan really is just to make the human empire even more awesomer. It's not till mid-conversation that the band
more
wakes
awesome.
up.
What about the Chair of Three? I can't imagine they're too happy about your little foray into the past.
They don't know about this. And they will never find out, because they will never exist. No more meddling from fools who do not deserve the positions conveyed upon them. Come, Icona. You can be a part of this. Join me as my admiral. Lead my armies to glory. Glory for all mankind.
You cannot join him here. It's a ridiculous plan, but why not? He even offers to help get Dad back if you join him, and Icona still says no. This is the apex of how disjointed everything has been.
Why would he say
We've been
no?
playing an evil genocidal
He seemed like
empire,
an
wiping out
asshole
enemies
idiot
left and
anyway.
right all game. But they still want to play you off as being space
not
with
like
guns, fun adventure man.
some he
who
would
is,
say
at
yes
best,
to.
indifferent to aliens as long as they align with his goals. He doesn't want to break the timeline and get everything he's wanted and more because Juno's the bad guy. If your character was played as a villain with ambitions for power, going up against Juno because he'll be the supreme ruler would make sense here. Everything else in the setting and the game screams that you should be evil, yet they didn't commit to it. Imagine how fun an evil space captain could be, throwing aliens out the airlock, announcing mandatory blood taxes and dropping awful one-liners. I want mustache-twirling villain, or at least dedicated space marine. This is just empty. You do escape Juno and make contact with the Lapis, who point you towards their leader.
Why are you attacking me?
You destroy the Lapis altars.
Oh god.
Destroyed them? No, that hasn't happened yet. That happens in the future.
That's happy, you big dummy.
Past that is the boss battle with the giant rock ship that has your dad. And you meet the Lapis
That hasn't
leader,
happened yet, you
Melagio.
big dummy.
Do you see him now?
I don't see anything but a planet. Is the planet his vessel?
He is the first brother. He is Melagio. He requires no vessel.
Who said that? Melagio reveals many secrets of the universe. The most alarming one being that he is beefing on a personal level with God. Melagio was supposed to be the only life form in the universe, but then God made more life to piss him off. He and God are no longer on speaking terms, and it's not clear what caused the fight. But as revenge against all life, Melagio created the Lapis. They obliterate everything on sight because this is the Rock's big revenge against God.
Against all life? Then how come the Lapis are only found in this part of the universe?
In the beginning, this was all
Yarn
of
us so
the
much all of a
universe.
sudden.
But God betrayed Melagio yet again and expanded the universe.
All of existence was made purely to spite this dude. Nothing in the Old Testament comes within leagues of being this petty. Apparently, Juno has planted some kind of organid device in the heart of the universe. If you destroy it, Melagio will protect the heart and contain the Lapis for all of eternity. Then Dad calls to say no, destroy Melagio's control rock, no one should control the heart of the universe. And Juno is online too, telling you to mutate his device so that you can rule the galaxy forever. Now you show down with your greatest rival, the other two endings.
Funny. I was about to say the same thing. Then you must know what I'm thinking. You think we got too close to the heart, and Juno used that to his advantage. I'm glad we understand each other. We should use this phenomenon to our advantage. To finish what we started? Exactly. I know exactly what we should do. Me too. So do I.
It all led to this, all the crashing.
Okay, well, I guess I don't have to explain it.
Crazy man arguing over what God rock to kick.
As you
Talk
all
about your
already
split
know.
decisions. You know, I've been around you guys for about a minute now, and I already don't like you. Either of you.
Oh, well, fuck you.
The feeling's mutual. I think I know how to handle this.
I'm sorry, I just needed a little break.
Three of me and I still can't make a decision. I'm pretty hard to convince when I think I'm right. Me too.
Sheesh, why is this
Maybe we
going
should
on
go
for
through the
so
portal
long?
again. See which one of us makes it through.
Jesus Christ. They fight. They all fight. And wouldn't you know it, it's one of the hardest missions because they mirror your ships, your genes, everything you have. They also appear to be teamed up against you because I never saw them fight each other. So the trick here is to completely scrap your own fleet and sell off everything. In a move of ultimate catharsis, you can give them the one-shot missile. Even though it's technically still you being one-shot. Sayonara to 2 rocks in a hard place. Though to give the game credit, every ending does have a fully animated cutscene. If you take Melagio's deal, the Chair of 3 is irritated, but life goes on. They'll take another crack at Ultimate Ascension or whatever the plan was at another point in the future. Melagio keeps his word, and Dad is replaced in eternal prison with Juno.
You've robbed me of my place in eternity. I must take my place next to God. No!
If you do what Dad asked and wipe out the stone, Icona considers it as being returning control to God. Strangely, it's this ending where we see some lust for power brewing in him.
The heart was not ours to take. Not yet. We may rule the material side of the universe.
He's looking at
but we have
ass.
much to learn about the spiritual beings that we aspire to be.
Juno is still alive, but younger again for some reason. A lot of his Inquisition soldiers survived somehow and will be secretly breeding a new army. With all the time travel shenanigans, I have no idea how this works. These endings are each about 2 minutes long. Naturally, the one where you side with Juno to make humanity the ultimate power in the universe is the shortest one and considered the bad ending.
Welcome to the new eternity, my son. I hope it was worth it.
He stabs him in the back. Hope it was worth it, you little shit.
I don't understand. This game frustrates me to no end. Even if it was
No wonder you didn't
stable and
complete
not
it the
full of
first
janky
time.
bugs, it's still not a game I'd recommend unless you desperately wanted to see these ships for yourself. It's clearly lifting a lot from Warhammer, but when it goes out on its own direction, it can get really fascinating.
Tyrant is in this?
It was brought up abruptly, but God feuding with someone causing the universe is an out there idea that you could expand on more. Hell, even scaled down, evil human empire with organic ships is an idea that rules. But with how the mutation system works and how clunky and unbalanced it is, it's no wonder that the game didn't take off, since skirmish mode isn't worth going to and you're not getting on multiplayer. The thing is, when I play these
you're not even gonna get on that
janky
shit.
games that are largely forgotten, even when the execution sucks, there are always cool ideas present. It's buggy and clunky and the tone isn't a Vitamix, but even after all these years, the image of a spaceship exploding into blood never left me. They made a future where mankind is lost, blood is fuel, and hell was made to aggravate a space rock. The Organids are still the height of bioships for me. The only setting I can think of that's similar is the Leviathan trilogy of books. It's an alternate World War I where the Central Powers use mechs, and the Allies made war machines by playing God with DNA. Sadly, they're more YA books, but the Keith Thompson art books are worth picking up. And that about covers it for Genesis Rising. It's one of those games where someday someone will do something incredible with the idea. Even with all its migraine features, I can't
I
deny
look
there
like
is
this
cool
game
stuff.
could use a remake.
I tried my best to get into it, but in the end, I couldn't smell what the rock was cooking.
The system is freezing. Let's find what we need and get out as soon as possible.
What's a multiplayer experience I can't recreate but remember fondly? My go-to is always Battle Swarm because that game got shut down. Tremulous is a good runner-up. I think it's playable but just doesn't have players. What is my opinion? I love that name. What is my opinion on
Damn,
Ubisoft using AI writers? I mean, there are exceptions, but a lot of stuff from there has already...
Are they using AI writers?
From what I understand, for now they're using it for random background chatter, supposedly to help the writers focus on the core stuff, but it's Ubisoft. Someone up there is hoping to replace a lot more people with machines. Can I give a hint about the size 2 fish? Has no one actually caught it yet? I figured more people would have it by now. Do I plan way ahead for the adventure game videos? Some stuff is on rotation, so I don't know which comes first, but essentially, yeah. It was fun seeing a lot of people notice Glug for the first time in the Druids video. Any chance for Darkest of Days? There are 3 or 4 time travel games I'd like to cover in a block, like 1 a week. So that'll take some more outlining, but Darkest of Days is one of them. That's another of those cool ideas, not great execution games.
This is fun.
I don't get it.
This is fun. I'm like, shut the fuck up. Oh, stop recording. Oh, damn, why is this hurting my ears more? Like maybe I haven't worn in a while. But that game looks rough. Like it looks like I was like, I don't even get it. Like I see why he didn't finish it. I see why I stopped playing this game. He's like, why did I stop playing it? And then you stop playing it and you're like, oh, I see why. But that was good. I appreciate that. Thank you for recommending that. Anywho, if you all enjoyed my reaction, hit that thumbs up button down below. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell if you want to be notified when I upload new videos. Comment down below. Share this video. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.